All right, we are back. What is going on, Pacer Nation? And welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice Pacers. Your guys, Cody and Derek, back for another one, guys. And the Indiana Pacers snap their 3-game losing streak in style as they defeat the Charlotte Hornets in Charlotte by a score of 115-99. And Derek, this was a much needed win for the Pacers. A couple disappointing nights, 3 straight nights where you're disappointed with the result for the Pacers. And again, Charlotte, not a good team at all.
Yeah.
But the Pacers do exactly what they need to do, Derek. They never trail in this game. And they come out on top and ultimately come out, double-digit point winners in this game. And they do exactly what they need to do here. And they don't fall into those trap kind of games like we saw they did against the Blazers a couple weeks ago. So regardless, the Pacers do win. Much needed for them. They get a couple guys back in this game. Give me your thoughts here on this Pacer win.
Yeah, like you said, man, they beat a team that was bad this year. And, it's what good teams do. You need to beat the bad ones, right? So that makes sense. And, for the Indiana Pacers who never trailed in this game, that definitely is a little bit of I would say it's a little bit misleading just because there was many points where the Pacers were up by double digits and then let that lead kind of dissipate a little bit in the second and third quarter. So even in the third quarter, I think it was still actually relatively close. I think it was tied at one point, and then the Pacers just took back over in that late third, and in that fourth quarter, they had the lead throughout the whole thing. Which is fine. That's what you need to do. And you on the road, you get a chance to do it. And when it comes to Halliburton, Halliburton's still on that minute restriction, but still was able to get you 17 and 4 assists and 2 blocks on the day. I think what is the most impressive thing to me, Cody, is there really was only 2 guys on this entire team, or actually it was 4, but there was only 2 guys that had a negative point differential when it came to this game. If you looked at the starters for the Indiana Pacers, every single one of them was a plus for the day, and not just plus, but they were positive in double-digit fashion. Pascal Siakam, when he was on the court, the Pacers outscored the Charlotte Hornets by 30. So it just goes to show you that the Pacers starting 5 definitely had their way with the Charlotte Hornets today. And I mean, Pascal Siakam once again gave you nearly a triple-double once again, just showing you once again he is a really, really good player. And it was great to see him and the starting 5 really take over this game.
Yeah, one guy we got to mention, Derek, that he's just been so darn consistent this year. And I think he's been so much better this year than he was last year. I think you could probably argue he's the most improved player of the team this year. We got to talk about Aaron Nesmith, man. I mean, my goodness, again, 34 minutes, 22 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. He made all of his free throws. He made 3 3-pointers, 8 of 11 shooting. So, I mean, this dude consistently is now putting up these really, really good numbers, in the absence of not having Tyrese Halliburton for as much. Aaron Nesmith, I feel like, Derek, has kind of taken it to another level here. I mean, this is the guy that's still extremely young, in his mid-20s, and he is really starting to take it to the next level. And it's crazy to see the difference in him from where it was last year to where it is now. And so he's just very impressive again. I think we need to start having some conversations about Aaron Nesmith because he was excellent again tonight for the Pacers. And he's kind of been their offense, Derek, I feel like, in a lot of these games. He's been very, very consistent scoring the basketball. And you mentioned, he was one of the best guys. You're tied for second on the team. Obviously, Pascal Siakam was the best in terms of, the point differential, but him and Andrew Nembhard, they both 19 plus 19 here in this game. So definitely great to see both of them, especially Neesmith, just with what he's able to do scoring the basketball from really anywhere on the court, and just his ability to be a well-rounded player as well. At that small forward position, it's just been really, really a breath of fresh air to see what Aaron Neesmith, where he came from last year and where he is now. It's been definitely a great thing to see.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, that is surprising that Nemhard had played for 27 minutes and yet did not score a single basket. And yet
I
to
know.
still be a plus 19 is absolutely insane. But yeah, like you said, Neesmith has just really been great. I mean, it's been awesome to see him kind of take that next step. I know, like you said, the major part of his game has just been the consistency as of late. We knew Naismith could hit knew he could hit some buckets and be able to score at the rate that he is right now, but it's just the consistency factor. Like you said, the shooting over 50% on some of these given nights when he's hitting for over 20 points. I mean, that's so valuable for the Pacers if you can get your small forward to be able to do that on a consistent basis along with Siakam, to be able to keep it up while Halliburton is still on these minute restrictions. So that's definitely great. I mean, the main aspect of this game was, I mean, a lot of the shooting overall and numbers overall were pretty much the same here, Cody. But at the major tribute to the Pacers winning this game was they shot almost 10% better from the field, and they had more than double the assists or pretty much double the assists of the Hornets. So clearly, ball movement was much better, and shooting the ball was definitely a better statistic for the Indiana Pacers today. And it's definitely been great to see the Pacers be able to put together some of these performances and some of these assist numbers while Halliburton's still trying to get himself back to what he once was.
Yeah, and a big reason why the Pacers are still one of the best offenses scoring wise in the NBA is because of the rise of Aaron Neesmith and what he's been able to do, and just being able to kind of fill that role. And Derek, I think I'd argue right now, with when Tyrese Halliburton comes back, I think it's pretty safe to say from a consistency standpoint, Aaron Neesmith might be the third best player on this team. I know there's conversations like between him and Miles Turner, but he's in that conversation, Derek, and it's just great to see that trade the Pacers had, the Malcolm Brogdon trade. If you remember, that sent Brogdon to Boston, and you got Neesmith from that back in last year. That's turned out to be a great trade for the Pacers overall. It's turned out to be a great one, and it's great to see Neesmith just continuing in his young career to he talked about like be more consistent, because he had flashes of that last season, but now it's the consistency factor, and he's continuing to do that. And I think that's also, Derek, what makes you really believe that when Tyrese Halliburton gets back fully healthy, like this Pacers team could be really dangerous, very extremely dangerous when it comes to shooting the basketball. I mean, they have multiple guys. Pretty much every single starter, and I say pretty much every single starter can shoot and score and routinely put in 20 points per game really easily. So yeah, definitely great to see him, and just overall, a very convincing win for the Pacers. You talked about Pacers pretty much beat out the Charlotte Hornets in virtually every category here, shooting the basketball, that is. And so definitely great to see them, just being the good in that category and continuing to shoot well.
Absolutely. But I think the one thing we got to talk about here, Cody, is a couple of negatives from this perspective. It mainly drops down to two players in this regard. One of those is Obi Toppin, and the other one's Buddy Hield. So here's the thing. My take from this is Obi Toppin, I don't know what's happened recently, but I feel like Obi Toppin's kind of lost his edge a little bit. Like, I don't know what it is, but like I feel like he's lost confidence in his ability to attack the basket. He's had several of these games recently where the shooting is just horrendous. And I mean, he only played 11 minutes today, which outside of the guys that came in garbage time in the last 2.5 minutes, he had the fewest minutes of anyone else out there on the entire team. So it's weird. He's been losing minutes. He's not been hitting baskets. He's been turning the ball over a lot recently. Actually, had the second most turnovers on the team today. So I don't know what it is about Obi Toppin, man. We can kind of discuss that here for a second. Maybe that's a video we need to discuss. But another one that I know we can discuss for a future video here in a little bit is Buddy Hield. Cody, in 4 of the last 7 games, Buddy Hield has failed to reach double-digit points. And it's not for lack of shooting the football or shooting the basketball, I'm sorry. Buddy Hield has had multiple games where he has shot 8 or 10 times in a game and only hits 1 shot a game. And we've seen his lack of defensive presence. And we even saw to where he's now coming off the bench now, Cody. I mean, this guy was a starter the beginning of the year for you because he's your sniper. But this guy has not been making shots. His defense is lackluster, and that's moved him to the bench for Naismith, who's been coming in and actually doing the work. And Nembhard, even though Nembhard can't quite put up the points that Buddy Hield can, he definitely has a higher motor, and the team moves better with him on the court. And then I didn't get to see this because I wasn't watching the game, but I saw your reaction to it and some people on Twitter where he was getting subbed out really quickly. And then he was like yelling at Carlisle for, taking him out the way that he is. And, it's kind of just crazy because I feel like it's the exact opposite when it comes to Obi Toppin. I just think Buddy Hield knows he's struggling, and he's now taking it out on not only the team but on Carlisle. And I don't know what's going on with Buddy, man. This dude is a dude that used to be putting up 15, 20 for you any given night. And now more than half of the recent games, he's been failing to even make more than 1 shot.
Yeah, I mean, from last year to this year, Derek, it's like if you talk about Neesmith being the most improved, you talk about Buddy being the most disappointing. I mean, this year, he was so good last year. He broke a franchise record, Derek, last year for the Pacers with shooting. Like, he was so good. And it's like, okay, he's very lackluster on defense, but if he shoots like that, okay, you can live with that, But like when he can't shoot like that, and he can't play defense, then you're like, what is he on the court for? Like, why is he out there? He's not contributing. He can't hit his shots, and he can't play defense. So he's virtually, I mean, let's be honest, like he's useless out there. Like he's not providing any benefit to your team when he's out there. And so if for the guy who's predicated on consistency and efficiency and being able to put up these huge numbers, he just has not been that this year. And Derek, that reaction, it was interesting because at that point the Pacers, they were down. The Hornets were on a 14-0 run at that point. And then Buddy Hield got subbed out, and then they immediately cut that, and they immediately got back to scoring efficiently. It was kind of crazy how that worked out because like things were looking like, oh boy, here we go again. This is, Knicks all over again, because they were starting to cut into that lead a little bit more. And you're like, oh boy, it's like at one point it was like a 20-point lead. Then it got down to like a 10-point lead. And you're like, this could get bad. But then you sub out Buddy immediately. And all of a sudden you go back to scoring. And so it's just like, for me, it's like you said, Buddy knows he's struggling. He's frustrated. There's no question about that. But Derek, I think for me, that's the sign of a guy who knows his time in Indiana is about done. Like it's just to the point where you're like, you just can't afford to keep him on your roster. You can't waste a roster spot with a guy who can't do anything essentially right now. His calling card, he can't even do that. And so, yeah, I definitely was rubbed the wrong way by that Buddy Hield reaction. I'm just like, well, Buddy, you'd be out there if you actually were worth anything. Like if you could actually shoot and if you could actually be efficient, you'd be out there, but you're hurting this team more than you're helping it. And to give Rick Carlisle credit, he saw the problem and he made a change. And so I give him props for that. But did not like that.
Yeah, I will give him credit for that first because when the problem was in the last few games for Hield is he would struggle, but yet Carlisle would keep bringing him back out. But the only thing is, he reduced that as an opportunity. He just stuck with Smith, with Matherin, and McConnell, and just left those guys out there and did not allow Obi Toppin and Hield to sacrifice the team's success for longer than what it needed to be. He saw, oh man, Hield's now in this slump. He hits that first shot, and then the next few he's missing. And it's like, oh man, I got to get this out now, because if we don't, then it's going to get worse and worse. So, yes, like you said, props to Carlisle for not allowing the damage of Hield and Toppin to really elevate to where the Pacers ended up losing that lead.
Yep. And I just did not like the response from Buddy Hield. I know you're frustrated in the moment, but arguing with your coach, everybody's watching you. Like, that's just very unprofessional, in my opinion. You know what? If he was, I just am like, I see like different players, if that happens, I know, like, if you get benched, you're frustrated, no question. But just did not like that
Typically,
look
if you're
from
doing
Buddy
better,
Hield.
though, right? Typically,
Right.
you'd be
Exactly.
mad if you were doing better than he was.
Exactly. It's like you have no leg to stand on. You're terrible right now. You've been terrible for basically the entire season. You've been very streaky when you've actually had good games. You can't, like we said with Neesmith, he puts them together, but you can't put them together. That's what he hasn't done that all year. And so, yeah, I mean, now that he's been on the bench 2 straight games, Derek, I just don't see a scenario where, he's necessarily with the Pacers. With the trade deadline happening in 4 days from now, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see a move here coming in the next couple days here. But yeah, man, give credit where it's due. The Pacers took care of business, had a couple scares there, but overall they were able to hold on and improve and continue to move forward. And we knew there was a couple games coming up for the Pacers, this one included, where they'd have an opportunity to right some wrongs a little bit. And just begin to kind of build up some of their confidence again. So love to see that for the Pacers. I'm glad that they kind of got back to where, you feel more confident with where they're at. And again, if Tyrese continues to be ramped up and hopefully he's back soon with no restrictions, maybe this team can go on a run here and make that record look a little bit more pretty than it is right now. I believe they're 28-22 now. So continue to just, build on these things. And you have a nice core, Derek. You really do. You really like where your core is headed, with, like we mentioned, with Neesmith, with Pascal, with Miles, and obviously with Halliburton when he is healthy. You just got to figure out that shooting guard spot. And we'll see exactly what they decide to do with that. Is it more of Andrew Nembhard? Is it more of Benedict Matherin? I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but I definitely would like to see Buddy Hield not on this team because I think you have a lot of young players who are kind of waiting a little bit. And yeah, there might be some issues, but I mean, Derek, I kind of look at it like this. It can't get much worse than it's been with Buddy Hield as of recent.
Yeah, literally. It's been really strange. I hope that at some point the Pacers are able to figure it out, because with what it's got going on right now, it's not very good for Hield and for the Pacers to be doing what they're doing right now. So hopefully it gets fixed up soon. So I mean, that's the best we can hope for.
Yep, absolutely. Well, guys, let us know your thoughts overall here on the Pacers win here in Charlotte against the Hornets. What are your thoughts on, some of the players, some of the stuff with the trade deadline? Derek, I'm sure we'll have a video coming out here talking about some of these guys who could potentially be dealt for the Pacers. But guys, be sure to keep an eye out on that video. It'll be coming out here in the next couple of days. But let us know your thoughts again. Like I said, also, if you haven't yet, be sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, turn on that notification bell so that you know when we drop fresh content like this. Guys, we're already approaching 500 subscribers. Absolutely crazy. Thank you, everybody who has tuned in. We greatly appreciate it. That'll do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, guys, go Pacers.